High on a windswept ridge where scree meets the sky, a mottled shape slides toward a sun-bleached stone and simply becomes part of the rock. At first, you think the hill is empty, and then the bird blinks. This is the rock ptarmigan, moving through the seasons like a living camouflage. In that moment, we see nature's quiet wisdom. The rock ptarmigan, Lagopus muta, lives at the cold edges of the world, stony plateaus, alpine heaths, the tundra margins where trees thin and the wind keeps watch. Imagine low cushions of dwarf willow, lichen-stippled rocks, and gullies that hold snow late into spring. These are the places this bird calls home. Not a single dramatic landscape, but a patchwork of small, exacting habitats that demand close attention. Life for a ptarmigan begins quietly. Nests are shallow hollows scraped into the ground, often tucked beneath a rock or low shrub. A typical clutch might be 5 to 8 eggs. Both parents share duties in subtle rhythms, incubation that responds to cold nights, and brief, urgent stretches of warmth. The newly hatched chicks are downy and quick to learn. You can almost see them practice balance on loose stones as their parents bring small bite of food. It is intimate work, careful, repeated, and inward-facing. Growing up here is a study in resilience more than drama. Chicks face swinging weather, sudden cold snaps, and the constant need to find shelter in a landscape that changes hour by hour. Predators exist, gulls take advantage of open spaces, and foxes watch quietly. But it is best to describe these pressures calmly, part of the ledger of survival, not a spectacle. The important thing is how the chicks learn to read wind and rock, to tuck their young bodies into hollows, and to feed on tender alpine shoots as they grow stronger. The seasons are the ptarmigan's most dramatic collaborator. In winter, its feathers turn almost entirely white, a clean cloak that dissolves it into snow. By summer, the plumage shifts to a speckled, mottled pattern that matches lichen and bare stone. Molt is not simply aesthetic, it is an energetic trade-off. Carrying bright feathers or heavy insulating down costs calories, and at high altitude, calories are a currency you cannot squander. The ptarmigan times molts, foraging and breeding to the narrow windows that alpine life allows. Day to day, these birds are foragers of fine tastes. Willow buds, alpine flowers, seed heads, and the small invertebrates that warm briefly under summer stones. They move in micro-territories across ridgelines, flitting from one rock shelter to the next, folding low into depressions when a storm passes. Ptarmigan are not great long-distance migrants. Rather, they are steady residents of high country, adapted to patchy food, thin soils, and the slow pulse of alpine seasons. Courtship is the season's soft ritual. Males call with low clucking notes and perform small displays atop hummocks, puffing feathers and stepping out against the wind to be seen. Pair bonds can be seasonal or stretch across years where conditions allow. There is no grand theatrical dance here. Instead, a sequence of repeated attentions, a presenting of plumage, a shared call, a return to a favored hollow. It is quiet, precise courtship, suited to a world where timing matters and the wrong moment can be costly. Ptarmigan also tell us about people and place. They are alpine indicators. Shifts in their numbers, timing, or range whisper about changes to the high country mosaic. Human footprints, literal ones on fragile turf, matter here. Trail erosion, off-route hiking during breeding season, and poorly planned grazing or restoration projects can all damage the fine-grained habitats these birds need. That said, small, place-attuned actions make a real difference. Staying on designated trails in spring, respecting closures, and supporting local native plant restoration done under expert guidance. Before I offer a few practical steps, a brief ethics note. Do not search for nests, do not approach chicks, and do not disturb ridgelines during the spring breeding window. If you want to help, consult local land managers or alpine restoration groups before planting or volunteering. When you observe, use binoculars from established viewpoints and submit sightings to regional monitoring programs rather than trying to get closer. Now, if you will, let us sit together for a minute with the wind and the distant call to feel the scale of place these birds live in, listen to the space between breaths and the way the landscape shapes sound. When we return, consider this. The rock ptarmigan survives by fitting precisely into a place, timing molts to snowmelt, nesting where stones shelter eggs, and tuning life to a short, intense summer. Their story asks for modest guardianship. Tread lightly, support locally guided restoration, and share observations with regional programs. If this quiet journey brought you a moment of attention, a small shift in how you think about rocky places, please help these stories take flight. Like, subscribe, and share this episode with someone who loves the high country. Thank you for listening. One bird, one story. Complete peace.